Alright everyone, and now welcome to what is going to be a rather crash course into macros in Excel. And the reason why I like showing this at this point is it provides a nice conversion into what we're going to be covering after your first exam, and that's going to be MATLAB. Why do I say that? Is because macros are the programming language of Excel. And there's a lot of programming behind Excel, and we're going to use macros to get into that. And it's actually a good way of doing it because you can almost ask Excel to program for you, and you can because it'll pretty much record what you do, and then it'll show you the code that you just created, and you can almost teach yourself a little bit of programming language through playing with Excel macros. To get started, though, a couple things you'll need to do. Number one is you need to go to the File menu, go to Options, and you have to add in a new ribbon, Customize ribbon here. You'll have to make sure you have the Developer tab available. This is where you're going to interface all your macro options. So make sure you have Developer selected. You may also need to check your Trust Center and add-ins to make sure Excel will let you play with it. But the most important thing for now is make sure the Developer option is selected. Click OK, and you will notice you now have this new option up here, Developer. So, what can we do? Well, let's say we are going to want to learn how to program a macro. And let's just play with the idea of something very simple, and that's to title a head of a spreadsheet. So I'm going to first go to and select over here under Developer Options, Record a Macro. Select that. Now we can give our macro a fancy name, like title a, because I keep on saying sheet. And we can even assign a shortcut key. When you assign a shortcut key, we want to be careful that you don't overwrite Control-C, Control-V, Control-Z that you're always used to doing. So you can use a Shift key, and that way you'll avoid making sure you don't use something that is a common one that you don't want to have missing from you. So in this case, I'll just say Control-Shift-D as the way we can do it. We can add a description if we really want, but at that point, not really matters. And click OK. So now we're in a recording macro. We see it says stop recording if we want to change it, and it's going to record key things that we're going to do differently. In this case, I'm going to go to the top cell here. I'm going to go to cell A1 and title with my name, Thomas D. Jubla, and I can say that this is my Excel sheet. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Alright, so we have the title. We're just going to use that. Okay, and so we'll stop recording. Not the world's most useful Excel macro, but we have it now. What does that mean? Well, if I go open a new sheet, and if I hit, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit better, and I hit Control-Shift-D, it does exactly what I just did. Wonderful. You can see of where you might want to use this and so forth, but that's only half the magic. We could actually go and look at editing it by clicking macros. If you go up over here, you see this macros button. Alright, so we want to edit macros. So we're going to click this button and the macros button, and you see with the macros that you just created, and we can go to edit. Now what comes up is not just any window, it is a macro window, the actual code that was generated by following your key commands. And what's interesting here is you can see right away how Windows handles programming, and it uses very specific language. This language is called Visual Basic. It's what they call object-oriented programming. I'm not going to get into all the particulars of what that means versus other systems, but the key point there is it means that every object is broken down, and everything has broken down into an object, and that object can have subcategories to it. So for example here, range is an object. In this case, range :A3 represents the position A3, and that's the object. And then you have a dot, and then after that dot you specify what it is you're going to do to that. In this case, it's select. And you can go for all these other conditions. And in this case here, you can kind of step through exactly what we just did by reading this code. It said first things first. It said range A2 was selected, and then it changed the small scroll down a little bit. Active window, it was scroll down. In other words, that's how we actually moved and to get A1 visible, and then it selected A1 range. Active cell then became formula R1C1 equals my name, and that's just the formula there. If we change this text, that text will be changed in the code next time we use that reference. Then you said it range A2 was selected, and then it changed this as a text. You can go forward, and start changing things. And the nice thing about the object-oriented coding is it's almost very hand-holdy in how it can help you through things. So if I said active cell clearly means the cell that's active. But the moment I hit the dot, you'll get a range of options that you can select from to change it. Properties that you can change and so forth. Things you can activate, other actions and so forth. But I can scroll down and select any one of these things to make an addition to and play with. So there's a lot of things you could do to change this. If I was to actually go to active cell delete, I think you kind of would know what that would do. So, I mean, let's test it out. In this case, if I said Control-Shift-D, it deleted that active cell. Control-Shift-D, it deleted the A1 that I had, and therefore no longer is printing it. So I can go back to the macros, edit, and remove that delete option, and get back what it is we want to see. You even know intuitively that this changing the scrolling of the window to move it was an artifact. We don't really want that even. So we can delete that from our code, and it should still work. So if I opened up a new cell and Control-Shift-D, it's going to still work because it didn't need to do the scroll window and so forth. That was just a feature that we had created. And that is the beauty of macros. It's a great way to teach yourself how to do things in Excel in more complex ways. So what I'm going to do from this time forward, I'm going to create a couple more videos just giving examples of how you can change things in Excel, give some simple examples of macros that you can create and how you can edit them and then use them for future reference. And I will, in the next video, talk about the all-important next point here, and that is the using of relative references. So from that point on, I will stop, and thank you very much. Bye.